So yesterday, one of the senators asked Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and I always like to remind people she was Donald Trump, one of Donald Trump's personal lawyers before he appointed her to the head of the DOJ, if she knew about photographs of Donald Trump sitting with topless young women with Jeffrey Epstein. And we do know through the works of Michael Wolff, who's someone that spends a lot of time at the Daily Beast, and he and I have an Inside Trump's Head podcast, that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends for many years. But Michael Wolff says he has seen these photos, and we're trying to figure out where are these photos. And it was very interesting when the senator from Rhode Island asked Pam Bondi, had she seen these photos? Did she know about these photos? She didn't answer.
Well, this is why we need a release of the files. I mean, if there are any such evidence, that would be in the Epstein files. There are files that have the investigation that the FBI has done. There are witness memorandum. There probably was, in my view, some investigation or questioning of Trump just because they investigated and talked to everyone that Epstein knew. All of this is in the files, and it can all be made public. And it's in the discretion of Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. And my view is that they should do it. This is not going away. Their strategy has been, well, let's just shut down Congress. It'll go away. Let's just get a delay, not swearing at Alita Grijalva. It'll go away. And what happens is it does die down, and then it rears its ugly head back up because the American public is tuned into this story. And once the Congress starts again, they'll say, okay, let's release the files. So they are just having this drag on. They're not going to be able to shake this story. And if I were giving them advice, I'd say just release the files. I mean, it's better than this drip, drip, drip. And people say, well, why does it matter? Is it the most important thing to Americans? No, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is, of course, right now that they have health care, that they are able to pay the bills, that they can support their kids, that they have freedoms. But it goes to the sense that our government has been rigged for powerful and rich forces, and that this rigged government has just been asleep while 70% of Americans no longer believe in the American dream, while wealth is piling up in districts like mine, and there has been decline across this country. And people are fed up, and they're saying this government isn't working for me. And the Epstein saga is exhibit one for a government that has been corrupted.
It's a really good point. What did you think when you heard that Todd Blanche, number 2 in the DOJ, another former personal lawyer of Donald Trump's, had been down to visit Ghislaine Maxwell after the appearance of a birthday letter from a book that she had put together for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday that apparently had a letter from Donald Trump in it. And then 5 days after a 2-day interview with Todd Blanche, remember, the number 2 at the Justice Department, who should have other things to do, she got moved to a low-security jail in Texas. What did you think of that?
Well, I was outraged because I knew the survivors' perspective about it. I mean, the survivors, when they were on the Capitol Hill, many of them were supposed to talk about the need for the release of the Epstein files. But they were so offended by what was happening with Maxwell that some felt the need to address that situation. I mean, Maxwell is a convicted sex offender. If you ask some of the survivors, they will say she was equally to blame for their abuse, that she basically recruited some of these junior high girls knowing that they would be raped, knowing that they would be abused, knowing that they would be farmed out. And a pardoning of that is basically saying to these young girls, your stories don't matter. The crimes committed at you don't matter. You were discardable objects because it was a powerful, rich person who did this, whose partner happens to know the president's personal lawyer. It is really making people feel abandoned a second time as adults, even as they felt abandoned when they were raped as young girls. And so there was such hurt, such anger, such disgust that this was even being considered. And so I felt that. Look, I have gotten more passionate about this issue the more survivors I have met, It started out as something that I felt was a wrong of our government covering up and wanted to restore trust and wanted to do in a bipartisan way. But as I met some of these survivors, I mean, they have just had tragic lives, horrific lives. They have been silenced, and they were told you can't do anything about it because they're rich and powerful people who know politicians, who know people in power, and that's tough. And in some ways, many people sense that rich and powerful people get away with things that they can't. This is the most extreme, egregious case of it.
Well, and I appreciate that people are, of course, concerned about the expense of eggs and milk and gas and things. But as you say, this story seems to encapsulate what people find infuriating about rich and powerful people who believe they can get away with things. Earlier this week, Caitlin Collins of CNN asked the president whether or not he would consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell because the Supreme Court had refused to take her case on the docket, as I know you know. And he said he didn't know, he had to think about it. He put on, as Michael Wolff called it, his Epstein face, where he pretends that he sort of barely heard of Jeffrey Epstein. It's ringing a bell. What is it? If he were to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and there are certainly those who believe a deal has already been done, and they're not going to do it immediately, but over the next 6 to 9 months, she will be released from her 20-year sentencing. What can the victims do to bring attention back to what they went through? I mean, it must be, we've certainly interviewed victims on our shows, on our podcasts, and I sense how infuriating it must be to not be taken seriously. How can they respond? At one point, there was talk that they were going to put their own list together of people that they had all known. Certainly when Virginia Giuffre did that with Prince Andrew, it turned out to be very damaging for him, certainly in the UK. What other mechanism is there for victims to be heard here?
Well, it would be a total punch in the gut to pardon Maxwell. It would be saying that we know that there is evidence and a conviction of someone who has abused young girls, and we don't care as a society, that we are okay with it. And these young girls now are women who have to see the person who abused them released. And the added fact is they don't even know the details of what happened because they can't see the files and the investigation that hasn't been made public. What they can do is continue to demand justice, and I do think that there will be justice in terms of accountability, of some kind of accountability, if these files are released. We saw that with the British ambassador. I mean, we saw that within days, one of the most prominent British politicians who literally architected Blair and Brown's victories was asked to resign. And so it may not be that people are prosecuted with the statute of limitations and other evidentiary issues, but there will be accountability. If there wasn't going to be accountability, they wouldn't be so afraid of releasing these files. So I believe that for the survivors, what we need to do is get all of this information out there. And then as a society, we need to have a reckoning, because what happened is we had a culture of permissiveness for rich and powerful people to abuse women and to abuse young girls. And we need to be honest about recognizing that what the culture we permitted and make amends for that, start to make amends for that. We need a public catharsis of that, which the file release will do.
You've got 4 Republicans who've against Donald Trump's wishes and against Mike Johnson's wishes, crossed the floor to vote with you on this. Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Thomas Massie. How difficult has it been for them to do this?
Very. I mean, Thomas Massie is having millions of dollars spent against him in a challenge. All of the other women Republicans have shown courage. I mean, they have been lobbied by the White House directly, pressured by the president to get off the petition. The fact that they've been on the petition now for over a month shows their resolve. And I think at this point, the speaker and the president should realize that they're not going to bully off these women. And that's why they're just holding off and trying to delay the inevitable, which is that Adelita Grajova will come in and be the 218 signature. But I am hopeful that once she is sworn in, we will get 50, 60 Republican votes when it actually comes for a vote on the floor, and then it'll go to the Senate. And if we get a strong vote from the House, there'll be an enormous pressure for the Senate to pass this.
So, Congressman, just a final question on the Epstein story. What do you think happened to him in jail? Why do you think he died?
I have no idea. And the reason I don't want to speculate is that I don't want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories. And I have no preconceived notion of the truth here. Neither do I have a partisan motive. What I want is simply transparency. And I want all the facts out. And if it was a suicide, it was a suicide, and let's get all the facts out. If it wasn't, then let's get the facts out. But what the country needs is sunshine as the disinfectant. We need all of the files out. And I have tried, and Thomas Massie has tried, not to speculate about the content because our interest is really just getting the facts out.